Good morning, everybody. Erica, can you hear me all right? So we'll wait a few more minutes as I see people adding on right now. So thanks for coming, and we'll just wait a couple more minutes and give people a chance to log on, and then we'll get started.
Is it just us?
Why is this not?
Morning, Mr. McCarring.
Good morning, Mr. Harris. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm interested in two levels here to see how the school's doing it, and then obviously as a parent, I'm doing well.
Good to hear. If you wouldn't mind muting your mic, it's just so ambient noise and so on. Sorry about that. All right, well, I like to start on time. So it's 9:02, and let's go ahead and get rolling. So thank you all for being here and joining with this coffee talk this morning. This will be the first of many. I have a lot to communicate to you this morning, and this is going to be an ongoing conversation. And I'll tell you about where the school is and where we're heading in all these different areas of distant learning and reopening and so on and so forth. So it's a lot of information, and I'll do my best to be clear and concise in presenting it. If you have questions, go ahead and write them in the chat box. I probably won't address them during the chat, although I may, but certainly afterwards there'll be time for questions, and we can go through and if your questions weren't answered, we can answer. Also, for our Spanish speakers, we have our Vice Principal, Ms. Rosas, with us this morning. And so feel free, if you're more comfortable, to write your questions in Spanish, and Ms. Rosas can respond that way as well. So let's go ahead and get started, as we always do, with a prayer, keeping in mind that we're here as a Catholic school, Catholic community, and that in these trying times especially, we want God's help, love, and support in all of this. So I will say a prayer, if you would just pray along with your hearts. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And a reminder that this Saturday is a very special day on the church calendar. It is the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So most churches, even if they have the outdoor Mass, Sacred Heart will be doing an outdoor Mass in the plaza on Saturday. And so in honor of Our Lady, and again for her intercession in our school with our children and all our endeavors, I say, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. So again, thank you all for being here. So let me start with an overview and kind of frame of where we've been and where we're going. And then I'm going to switch to a presentation that Ms. Rosas and I put together of our reopening plan that we want to share with you. So I'm going to start the first part by talking a little bit about some of the different where the school is, and then we'll get into some specifics on our reopening plan. So as you all know, we're in the midst of a global pandemic. We needed to finish the end of the year out of necessity with distant learning. I am extremely proud of the entire community. I will single out the teachers for working so hard and doing such a good job, but parents rallied, students rallied. It was really inspiring how everyone came together, and we finished the year together very well. So I would never boast that Sacred Heart, did anything better than anyone else, but we did distant learning as well as anyone else, at least. The diocese did a great job. We had a lot of support from the diocese. Now that's recognizing that distant learning doesn't work for everyone. And for the lower grades, it was more difficult, right? It's kind of on a sliding scale. 8th grade down to TK, it kind of gets more and more difficult and challenging, and things have to be adjusted and fitted to that. So recognizing that, again, distant learning was a far cry from in-person learning, I thought our staff did a really good job with that. And in fact, I know they did. And it's going to be that advantage of doing a good job, having a strong base to build from, why I feel like we're going to be able to launch into not only a good distant learning program in the fall, but one that's even better. But I'll talk more about that later. So over the course of the summer, we didn't know what was going to happen. And as you guys know, you don't need me to tell you how there have been twists and turns and changes in this pandemic. I think we were all hoping that our efforts to isolate would dissipate it, but it didn't. So here's what happened. So the governor of the state of California, Gavin Newsom, decided that schools in areas that are on a watch list, in counties that are on a watch list, cannot reopen, that must start distant learning. So again, this is not a Sacred Heart site choice or a diocese choice to start with distant learning. We are mandated to. So on this watch list, San Diego County's on there, 7 different categories on there. And the way it's going to work is, if once we're off those 7 watch lists, it might be deaths, it might be number of cases, there's a couple different factors that the county health is watching. Once we're off the list, there are 14 days. And if we stay off that list 14 days, the county, then schools can reopen 14 days later. So when you hear that the county goes off the watch list, okay, we will begin preparing to reopen the school. Now, they've added something to that, which we're going to take a full advantage of, is there's an opportunity for schools to apply for a waiver to reopen sooner, okay? And so Sacred Heart, again, Erica and I, Ms. Rosas and I have been working hard on it. Father Mike approves, because there is an application that we can submit to get a waiver, and we're working with the diocese. The other Catholic schools are applying for this waiver too. So the waiver process is, we submit our waiver application, which we should get, which I'll talk more about later. We should be able to get in sometime next week. The county is going to get back to us if they approve or disapprove, and then we would reopen again. I would say it's about a month period, maybe a little bit sooner, maybe a little bit later, because we have to prepare for reopening. Okay, so we're going to apply for the waiver. Ms. Rosas and I were in a meeting. The county seemed very positive. At first, when I heard about it, I thought they were going to be very tight about granting these, but I think that it looks like we're going to have a good chance to get the waiver. Now, one thing everyone needs to be aware about the waiver, this is TK through 6, 7th and 8th grade, it is not applicable, okay? And at Sacred Heart, because our middle school is tied together, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the way the teachers work, if we're granted the waiver, then we would open TK through 5, okay? And our middle school would remain with distant learning, again, until we get off the county watch list. And why is that? Well, it's because it's the county health decision based on the data and the medicine that maybe younger kids are probably less susceptible to it. Again, I'm trying to be very neutral in this and not political one way or the other. But it's safer for the younger kids basically than it is the older kids. Now, one thing I want everyone to remember in this reopening process is, while it does very much seem like it's safer for children, we have staff here at the school as well. And that staff needs to be protected also, and safeguards need to be in place. So we're not rushing hurly-burly into a reopen. Again, we're going to talk about our plan for reopening. So right now, we're starting with distant learning, okay? The state may take the county off the watch list, in which case, at the very least, we'll be open in a month if we don't go back on the list. Once we're open, even if the county goes back on the watch list, the school will stay open. We're not bouncing back and forth. The only way the school would reclose and entirely go back to distant learning is if our site has 5% of the population having cases. Again, where am I getting this information? Again, we'll go on and on. I'll show you all the sites. Erica cited them, or we cited them on our site, but there are guides from the county. Here's one of them, and I'll show you later. I know it's not very effective to hold this up here, but we have very clear guidelines on how we're going to operate. So I'm not confused and nervous about reopening the school in the sense of we have a plan and we're going to know how and what we're going to do. Let's say if a case arises in a certain class with a student or a staff, we know just how to handle it, and that's a part of the plan that we'll talk about. Okay, so a month to reopen, or we're granted the waiver. Sacred Heart is granted the waiver. Now, what if we apply and they don't accept our application? Then they're going to tell us why they didn't, and we're going to go back and reapply, change it or fix it, whatever, make adjustments that they're looking for, and then reapply again. And again, they've promised to turn it around in a week. So even if it doesn't work out for us at first, we'll keep applying. One of the things that's important for the waiver process is that we need to survey the parents, you, the school parents, and get your input. So later today, we're going to send out a survey to you, which we're required as part of our survey, part of our application, to survey our school community. And if the majority of you are for reopening the school, again, that helps our application. It helps for the success of our reopening. If the majority of our parent community is against reopening, then we're still going to apply, but that's probably going to hurt our chances to reopen. So we survey the school community, we survey the staff. Father Mike is on board with the parish, but we're involving the parish in the decision to submit our application. So that's what's going to happen. And so we'll see. So we're going to send that survey. Please spread the word. There's 42 people on here, which is great. But for people that didn't attend, we're going to record this and they can watch it later. Or let parents know that if you're comfortable, again, we want people to do it from the heart, give their honest response. But if people are wanting the school to reopen, it's really important that we get affirmative responses to this survey that we're sending out. Okay. So let me talk about something else. So when we reopen the school, okay, we're going to have a temporary transition plan. So because, we spent all summer studying the guidelines for what the kids have to, the protocols that they have to follow and so on, it's a lot for the kids to learn and follow once they get to school. And Ms. Rosas ran a very successful summer camp safely here at Sacred Heart, but we learned a lot from that. And one of the things that we always have to remember, and sometimes I wish, the state and the doctors would remember as they do these, is we're working with children, okay? So we're not, it's not going to be perfect, but again, I'm very clear on what we're going to need to do. So I have written about to you this idea of 2 days on, 3 days off. So the kids, we start distant learning, and then the kids come back 2 days on, 3 days off. Why? Okay, so let's say the even number of kids in the class come Monday, Wednesday. The odd number of the kids come Tuesday, Thursday, and then everyone is remote learning on Friday. This is a temporary transition. This is not how we're going to be at school, but to come back to campus rather than have everyone jam on the campus at once. If we have half the numbers, that will allow the teachers and the students to get into a routine that will allow us all to get a comfort level, parents, staff alike, and students, okay? And once we establish our routines, then it could be 2 weeks later, we can reopen it for the full school. Maybe we decide to extend it to 3 weeks. Again, this is something that we want everyone's input, but we want to make a safe decision. So do I believe we can reopen safely? Yes, but it's going to have to be with the cooperation of parents and students, okay? So I will get into the reopening plan very soon, but there are a couple of highlights that I want to mention even before we get there about that. So one is this idea of cohorts. You're going to hear the term cohorts a lot. What does cohort mean? It means that we're going to try to keep the classes together in their group and not intermingle them with other classes. So the TKers will stay with the TKers all day long. The second graders will stay with the second graders, the third graders with the third graders, okay? They'll come into the campus, go to their classroom, okay? When they go to lunch, we've moved around all the lunch tables. They'll sit with the third graders in their area. We'll designate play areas. Why do we have cohorts? Because if there is an outbreak, if there is a case of a student that tests positive for COVID-19, okay, then we're going to have to move that class to distant learning, okay, for 10 days, okay? So a cool off period to make sure everyone's okay, and then they can come back, okay? Well, we don't have to close the whole school because the kids are in these cohorts, okay? So the cohorts help isolate the kids. So if there is an outbreak of a staff member or a student, it's not the whole school, it's just gonna be that individual. So cohorts are very important, keeping the kids together. So we're gonna have the kids spaced out in the rooms as far apart. Now, the other big thing I wanted to mention, it'll come later, but again, this is mandated and it can be controversial with parents, which is fine. Again, we're here to have a conversation. But masks are required for students, okay, third grade and up, required to wear masks all day long, okay? And we are choosing at Sacred Heart to do that with TK through second as well. Why? Because, again, with this summer school that we did, the kids, even the young kids, had their masks on and they did fine, okay? It was okay for them to do. And there's nothing that's going to keep our staff safer than wearing the masks. Yes, there can be face shields. Face shields are okay. They're an extra layer of protection, but they're not, the air goes out. They're not a safeguard. So masks are going to be required for the students to wear. Is it going to be perfect? Can I guarantee if you send a kindergarten student to a kindergarten class that their neighbor is going to have their mask on and not under their nose all day long? I can't. It's going to be impossible. But what we can do is, if that's a rule, it minimizes the risk. And so we're going to do our best to enforce it. So mask and cohorts are two big keys to keeping everybody safe at the school, the kids as distant apart from whatever in the classroom. Okay, so what else did I want to say about the initial? I think I have covered that. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my list here on the side. Okay, so I think the best thing to do, again, please forgive me, I'm not as skilled at this. I'm better at talking off the top of my head, but I do want to grab the screen and I want to go through a slide presentation, which is of our reopening plan, so that you can be informed, and as you fill out your surveys, so we're sharing this with you so that you can be aware of the plan. Now, again, these slides are a kind of a summation. The longer plan is posted on the school website. And I'm going to walk you through before we start how to get there with that. And then we'll go ahead and start with the plan. So, Erica, turn off your mic, get ready to help me as I venture into this technological world, which always challenges me.
Sounds good. I'm here.
Okay, are you seeing the right screen?
Yes.
I want to start with
Our website.
yeah. Can you guys all see the website?
Yes.
Okay. So if your little pictures are on the right, move that way. So if you go over, go to the school website, and then you go to the menu, all right? And then you go to parents. We put it there for the parents. You'll see over here different things. And so you want to go to the reopening plan. Again, Miss C and administration have put together a fantastic distant learning plan. There'll be a whole separate presentation for that. We can only do so much in one little Zoom. But here is the reopening plan. So you click on that, and then there it is in red. And I got the spinning wheel, which I seem to get more than anybody else.
I think it's at the bottom on your left-hand side. It downloaded just on your screen, left-hand side.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll just go there.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the slide
Or
presentation.
that's a slide. So it should download, just for everybody, it should download as a PDF and you should be able to just access it directly.
Yeah, here it is.
There it is.
So again, our reopen, now this is a living document. We are working it, we're changing it, and when we change it, we'll let you know, and things will be highlighted in yellow. But again, I'll go through in detail with the slides, but we have the different sections to it. I'm just gonna pull it down. And this is an important page right here. Let me go back, sorry. These are all of our reference documents. So did Sacred Heart, did Peter Harris invent our reopening plan? Absolutely not. We spent hours and hours poring over these different documents here, which all of you have access to. This is not secret stuff. This is something transparent. We want everyone involved. So these are the main documents that we use to base it over. And the one that I held up to you before is this one. Very uncooperative today, which is this one. The County Department of Public Health, COVID-19 Integrated School and School-Based Programs Reopening. So again, a lot of details in here on the different areas, which you're welcome to study. Again, why did I say that about face covering? Here it is. Face coverings required. 3rd grade up, yes. 2nd grade to 2nd, strongly encouraged. And we're choosing to take that encouragement. So again, all these choices that we're making for the safety are based on these documents. Okay, so 27 pages of putting together those policies and fitting them to our school site. The reason that we have our individual plan is one plan does not fit all schools, and so this is tailored to fit ours. And so again, it's not in a permanent state. We'll be improving it and working on it going along. Now, one of the nice things about, I'm going to say some things that are going to sound funny, but are counterproductive. But one of the nice things about starting distant learning is we have a chance to have the faculty and staff, parents, again, go through our reopening plan and point out things that we can improve on. So rather than just opening the school at the beginning of the school year, which would have been great, it would have been my preference, but frankly, we start with distant learning and we really go through this plan with a fine-tooth comb. When we do open, we'll be more comfortable and more competent and safer about the whole thing. Something else about distant learning starting that's an advantage, and again, I know that you don't like it, I don't like it either, but an advantage to starting with distant learning is this. If there are families that aren't comfortable sending their kids back to school, we are required to be able to have a distant learning plan in place to work with you. Now, it's going to be tough because the teachers are going to be focused on the students in the classroom, but this is why we got the swivel cams. I can talk more about that later. I was surprised, a little controversial, the swivel cams, but all it is a way for the kids to be able to see what the teachers are doing in the classroom. Yeah, good idea. I'll do that. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. I was talking about, so now let's say that your child, let's say that somebody in your household is exposed to COVID. And so you let the school know, okay? And then your child is gonna stay home, right? Isolate for 10 days. Well, since we've been doing distant learning, there's a structure in place for them to be ongoing with the class, okay? They can continue on with the students, and so they're just not lost in space or absent those 2 weeks. It's a way to keep them engaged, involved, and moving forward. So we have to be prepared for students that are staying out, or if a class has to go to distant learning, we've started at the beginning of the year, we've built the structure, so we'll be able to do it better, okay? Now, let me say something about, again, about Sacred Heart distant learning, okay? So I'm gonna be a salesman a little bit, and shamelessly so, because I'm proud of the school and the staff we did. But some people say, why should we do distant learning at Sacred Heart? Okay, can I do it somewhere else and then come back to Sacred Heart once the school's open? Your child will be at a great disadvantage if they do distant learning or homeschooling somewhere else. Again, our teachers, one of the strengths of our school is our teachers know the students. They work with them, okay? and they're going to be working with them on the lessons. And there's all this material, right, they missed at the end of the year last year. The teachers and I are working on a plan to integrate that with the new material so that the students move forward in a positive way. So it's about traction and distance. So the kids that are sticking with us during this distant learning time, when we come back to school, are going to be in a strong position to re-engage with the school when we start again, okay? So I would sell that. We do distant learning as well as anybody. I don't know what advantage that anyone's going to get doing distant learning somewhere else, but if you're here, then you're with the teachers, you're in the spot going forward. Okay, so again, before we do the reopen plan, and again, thank you for being patient with me. I know I tend to talk fast and a lot of subjects, but I want to be very transparent and talk about, one of the issues that comes up with parents and that schools face that we're in meeting, and that is the finances, okay? So why don't we at Sacred Heart offer a discount for distant learning, since distant learning is inferior to in-person? So one of the reasons that we don't is because the diocese, again, we're not Sacred Heart alone, we're part of the Catholic School Diocese. The diocese has forbid us or any of the schools from offering discounts for distant learning, okay? Why? Because they don't want the schools to compete and undercut each other. And what you have to remember as parents, and I know most of you do, but we're an individual business, okay? We don't get money from the state. We don't get money from the diocese. Our salaries are paid from the tuition that you all give, and we want to keep the school going. And so believe me, our teachers are working harder than ever before. It is very stressful and difficult to run distant learning, and our teachers have responded. They're doing fantastic, but we want support staff. We want the school to be in good financial shape when we come back. So we've made some cuts because we've had to. We've lost some students, not a lot, but we've lost some students. And again, that's fine. We're a business. I understand parents have to make choices, but we don't have Spanish teachers right now. We don't have a PE teacher right now. And we've had to make some cuts in some other areas. But when we come back to school, one of the things that's going to be required is, again, extra supervision for the kids. They want us to do all these things with the kids, keep us safe, but we need people to do it. And so, again, for the health and well-being of the school, it's important that we all stay together. And I assure you that not $1 is being wasted. And we're making cuts everywhere that we think is prudent. But we're not allowed to give discounts, but we want to keep people in the family. Remember, we have a tuition assistance program here at the school. And families that are hurting or want to stay but are struggling, come contact Stephanie and I. We have a process to help you with that financially, okay? So I think it's valid for a parent to ask that question. I hope my answer suffices. If it doesn't, I can talk more about it later. But again, we're not allowed to give discounts. And again, quite frankly, we want to continue keeping our good teachers, and they need to be paid for the hard work that we're doing. And again, remember that this is a short-term situation. This is the hardest thing about what we're going through, what we're all going through right now. This is a short-term situation, and we're going to be back together on campus without masks, all together, a great Sacred Heart Parish school. But we're going through these hard times, so we want to stick together so that we survive and come out of this thing as strongly as possible. So nothing is taken for granted. Nothing is taken lightly. We're very appreciative of the parents and the students that stick with us. Very appreciative. And I think that you'll all agree with me that in this process, we all appreciate each other more. Having your kids at home and not having the teachers teach them, a lot of parents have expressed a lot of gratitude for the teachers. And it's been warmly received. And believe me, the teachers have expressed a lot of gratitude towards the parents. And we know the extra burden that it places on you. So, we can cry and whine about it, but we're the adults in the room. We're the administrators, we're the teachers, and you're the parents. And so we're faced with this tough situation. And so we're going to make the best of it. And by making the best of it, we're going to do as good a distant learning plan for as long as we need to. We're going to reopen this school as soon as we can. We're applying right now as safely as we can. And we're going to move forward together, and we're going to come out of this thing very strongly. Okay. I'll take another drink of water. So again, Erica, this is where I might get messed up, but I'm going to go to present, right? So I can go through each slide. So
Yeah.
again, you guys feel free to read the slides. I'm not going to read them to you, but I'm going to touch on each topic as we go along on each slide. So again, the entire plan is there for you to review on the site that I showed you. So feel free to read along, but I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm just going to kind of pick out the highlights and emphasis on the different things. So away we go. We'll see. Okay. Okay, so these policies and procedures are based on guidance from San Diego County Office of Education, California Department of Public Health, Center for Disease Control, San Diego County Health Public Order, the Diocese of San Diego, as of July 2018, and we can update that date right now, Erica, because we got updates, in August. So again, that's something that we can change. So this is going to be an ongoing document. So again, here are the sources that we use to put together our reopen plan. A lot of good information here. You hear a lot of negativity sometimes expressed about government and negativity expressed about school district and schools. I've got zero complaints with the County of San Diego and the Diocese of San Diego, our Office for Schools, extremely supportive and helpful. So again, I feel very clear on what our plan is going to be, taking all of these elements and putting it together for an effective school plan. We're not on our own, and so this is terrific. I will point out down here, I'm not going to click it, but the San Diego Catholic Schools engagement site is a very good site for you to check out on your own, because again, it shows the support that Catholic schools are getting for our distant learning and our reopening and so on. So screening and symptoms. So again, it's going to be very important that parents are on board with this. Parents need to check the temperatures of their kids at home, okay, before they come in. 100 degrees, 100 degrees is the benchmark. If they're above that, please keep them at home, okay, prior to school. So again, you're going to have a backup plan in place, even reopen. If we have somebody that has a temperature or a fever or has signs here at school, we're going to isolate those kids, and the parents are required to pick them up right away. It can't be all day long. So let me be frank. In the old days at school, sometimes parents, they're working and have to load their kids up a little bit of medicine. They're kind of sick, kind of not. Sometimes you're not sure. I was a parent. Sometimes is my daughter faking, or is she really sick, or is she just trying to get, so we all make hard choices. But during these times, I'm going to ask everyone to err on the side of caution, keeping your kids home, okay? So the kids will arrive. We'll spread that out. The kids will go directly to the classrooms. Again, no playing on the playground, no morning daycare. Now, once we reopen, we may set a way to do morning daycare. But at the first, when we do the 2 days on, 3 days off, no morning daycare. I see. Yeah, and if arrival, we take their temperature. And we feel like that it's not safer to have them. Again, be ready to come right back and pick them up. Again, these are some of the important details. Erica, will you read the top part? These two things in the slide, these are important.
Yes, if a student tests positive for COVID, the student will be sent home, and all those in close contact to the student will be notified and required to self-isolate for 10 days since the onset. Thank you. The onset of symptoms or test date. Those in contact will be isolated for 14 days after the last day the case was present at school while infectious. If a student has symptoms but tests negative, they may return to school 3 days after symptoms resolve. If a student has close contact with a positive case of COVID, they must self-isolate for 14 days after last exposure before returning to school. Testing is strongly recommended.
So again, that's why, whether it's a swivel clam or a distant learning program, it's good that we have it in place, because many of your kids are going to need to stay out of school. So the staff and SIG guidelines are basically the same. It's longer in the big document. But again, I'm going to do something that drives Erica and Julie nuts because I'm old-fashioned. I see things printed as opposed to on the screen. But I'm holding up a page from one of those documents earlier, and it very clearly defines, which we took from here and put up there, on what to do if we have a reported case and how to handle it. And parents will be contacted and notified. Now, one thing that's going to be, we're clear on, we're not giving out individual names of students. We're going to do everything we can. There's HIPAA laws to protect the identity. So it'll be, you'll hear that there's been a reported case of COVID with a second grade student, or there's been an exposure or so on. So we're going to say it, but we're not going to say specifically because we can't. It's the law. And then again, we report to the county. There's contact tracing that will take place. So again, face coverings for the teachers and students. The teachers will probably have masks and face shields. When they're 6 feet away from the kids, probably just their face shields. If they go work and interact with the students at their desks, they'll put their masks on. But again, the students, we talked about this already, will be required to wear their masks. Why? Because of all the different things that we've learned about this over time, COVID-19, it really is the masks are the safest way to keep everyone safe. So pick up the same thing. We're going to try to spread the kids out. We're going to do a staggered pickup, probably the TK through second will get dismissed at 2:30, the rest of the school at 2:45 to help lessen it. But again, we don't want all the parents coming out and gathering on campus, right? So in their cars is still the best way. So it's basically going to be the same, but just with everyone with masks, and we'll have staff spacing the kids out and that kind of thing. Okay, visitors, so a lot less visitors. So do as much as of the business that you have with the school office, either by email or telephone. If you have to come in and drop something off, when you go into our front office, you'll see 2 big plexiglass shields there. The front office people will be wearing their masks and have face shields and so on. But once we get the school back going, we will start hot lunch again. We can do the hot lunch safely, and we'll have parent volunteers, but that'll be the only thing. We won't have parents coming in and working in TK with groups yet. Once things cool down, once we get back into a flow, once things look safer, we'll get the parents back integrated. But less visitors to school, the better. So Erica, will you read the school closure guidelines? Again, something important.
Yes. With a positive test result or reported case in a classroom, that individual classroom will be closed and go to distance learning for at least 7 days. Sorry, my child is in the background. If a classroom or school closure happens, all members of the community should maintain social distancing and avoid gatherings. If a school or classroom closure happens, depending on the timing, we will move to distance learning structure.
Yeah. So how's this going to play out? So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that there was one of the students in TK had it. So we're going to shut it down for 10 days, go to distant learning. Maybe there's a student in 4th grade. We shut down the 4th grade. Okay, so that's 2 students. So that's less than 5%. So again, we'll keep the school operating, but with those classes being out, because they were in cohorts. So only they were exposed to each other. And is there a tipping point? So all this, every case we report to the county monitors the schools. So there will be a tipping point where we may have to all go back to distant learning. But just because there are a few cases that are reported doesn't mean the school is going to close automatically, okay? But again, we've started distant learning, so that'll be okay. Something else I'll wait till we get to the next one. So communication, again, you're going to get emails, you're going to get notified. This is not secret in the dark. Like, I'll be very transparent. Where it gets tricky is, let's say I have a parent and they said, well, I saw my mother last week just for 10 minutes, and it turns out that she had COVID. So I don't know if I have it or not. I'm going to get tested. So we're going to recommend that child stay home as well. They were exposed to be safe. But that's going to happen a lot, I think, as we do it. So again, we'll be transparent as we can, but we're not going to close down the classroom because somebody's parent was exposed to somebody. So again, this is where it's tough. There's degrees of set preparation. So it's going to be tested, reported cases of COVID and clear symptoms of COVID. And you'll get email, you get communication, all this stuff. We're not keeping anything secret, but there are issues of confidentiality. And then we also don't want to be Chicken Little. And anytime there's a remote possible contact, we don't want to alarm the whole school. So again, it's very clear on our responsibility, and we're going to err on the side of responsibility. But there is some gray area sometimes. So the staff is here back working, being trained presently on what to do to keep themselves safe and going through the reopen plan. Again, the testing, when we first started talking about this early summer, it was going to be required of everybody. Now it's, strongly encouraged. But again, it talks about under the testing students that if they're out, we're going to have a distant learning program. Let me talk a minute about again, the swivel cams. There's some misunderstanding about the swivel cams. So swivel cams are not like an eye in the sky in the corner of the room that shows all the things that are going on in the classroom and exposing all the kids. It is something that's directed at the teacher, specifically controlled by the teacher. So if the teacher is doing, let's say they're in TK and they're doing their calendar and they're doing their sounds and they're doing their story time, that camera will be on the teacher. It might have the back of the head of a few of the students or something, but it's not a spy cam, and it's very controlled. Only TK students, TK parents will have access through codes, just like Zoom through it. So it's not a public thing. It's not something that it's going to be out there on the internet for people to see. It is a tool to help those kids that are out of school because either the class is out or the student's out, to help them stay engaged. So just another tool for the teachers to use, and there'll be more information on it. But again, it's very safe and it's going to be very effective. Father Mike has been fantastic in this whole thing and has spared no expense. I was going to wait till facilities, but I'll just get started with it. We got 2 5-person, 5-student hand washing stations, one for the TK, one for the big building, for kids to extra hand washing throughout the day. Again, we have the plexiglass shields for the front office. We have super cleaned the whole school. We're getting new special coated vents for extra filtering protection, cleaning out the vents at the school. And everything that we've asked for technology-wise to help make distant learning the best we can, Father Mike's been very open to spending the money. So we're taking risks. We're sparing no expense for you guys when it comes to preparing the school for when we return and making distant learning as good as we can. Okay. We are going to do periodic checks on temperature throughout the day. So again, we're not going to check every student when they come in the morning. Parents are going to check, but we will have aides with the classrooms. They'll be going through checking the temperatures of the students, checking the temperatures of the staff throughout the day, at least twice a day. I'm getting ahead of myself. Gets to stable cohorts. Again, stable cohorts, keeping the kids in their group is going to be very important to our success to keeping everybody safe. So you hear that talked about a lot. That's what this area is, to stable cohorts. So mass, here's one thing I'm very excited about. So the kids, the students, and the parents are going to be able to come to Sacred Heart for mass, okay? Starting on pretty soon, September 8th at 11 o'clock, the 8th graders, parents are welcome too, are going to come to Sacred Heart out there in the plaza. They've been holding mass in the plaza here at Sacred Heart, and Father Mike is going to hold a class mass for those kids so that everybody will be able to see each other. And they'll be in mass, they'll be separated, and then on Thursday, the 7th grade will come. So every Tuesday and Thursday, there's going to be an opportunity for the kids to come to school and share in mass, because that's very important that we keep our faith community alive, and it's a way for the kids to see each other and still fit within the guidelines of what's expected of us. Also, I'm going to jump back a little bit. talking about the calendar. So on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which are going to be the first 3 days of school, so it's September 19, 20, 21st, you're going to have an opportunity to come in with your kids wearing a mask, but to meet the teachers. We've got new teachers on staff, and I'm super excited about them. Again, this isn't sale. This is from my heart sincere. Great new TK teacher. We have Miss Conley back, who came in for Miss Bailey's kindergarten teacher. Wonderful. Catherine Soper in 2nd grade is going to be awesome. We have Sylvia LaPerry in 4th grade. And then we have Matt Dowlin in middle school for math and science. So all of these teachers are a great addition to the staff. And we want your kids, and we want you to be able to meet them and say hello when you pick up your material. So again, there'll be more information coming. I set it out in my email the other day. You'll get more from the office, but it's an opportunity to come in and for your kids to make that connection with the teachers so that they can put the face to a person as we start distant learning. And hopefully won't be doing distant learning too long, but those are 2 opportunities, mass and the beginning of the year, for your kids to come in and to be able to see the teachers. And again, prayer, reflection opportunities throughout the day. It's being Catholic that held our school as one of the ingredients that made us so successful and helped us get through those hard times. It's going to help us get through this hard time.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Just the dates for when they're coming in to pick up things is August. You just mentioned September. I'm sure everyone knows it was just August.
Thank you, Erica.
19th, 20, and 21, next week.
Yeah. I make mistakes with dates and times. I'm sorry. So thank you, Erica, for correcting me. So it's, just coming up next week, those days in August, not September. So faith, very important. And so the kids, the prayer life, again, why should I stay at Sacred Heart for Distant Learning? Because be connected with the church, be connected with a faith community, praying for each other, working with each other, keeping your kids in a good prayer life. So all these things, very important. It's the same reason you send your kids to Sacred Heart anyway when we're here, for the faith life. And so we're going to do our best to keep that up during the distant learning time. So some physical distancing, classroom setup. So all the desks will be individual, spaced as far apart from each other, in rows, all facing forward. So they won't be in collaborative groups. So much of this is disappointing for the teachers because all these things we've learned about being a great teacher, working with small groups, collaborative, the kids, together at the desk. It's going to be kind of like Catholic school in the 50s with the kids all in their rows, the kids in their desks, the teacher in the front of the room teaching for a while until it cools down. We're working out the schedules again, the lunch schedules and so on to make things distant as possible. So recess and lunch. And again, if you come by the school, you'll see a group of yellow tables over by the front office, over by the kindergarten. We have them separated. So when they have lunch, the kids will be outside, but they will have their playtime outside together. And we will get a PE going as well when we come back. So we're going to rehire Spanish. We're going to rehire PE. We have a great art teacher, someone that works with Miss Rosas in her summer schools, is during distant learning, we're going to have art with your students, which again, is going to help liven things up, not so much dull worksheets and computers. So there's going to be art. So when you come in to pick up your things, there's going to be other opportunities to come back to school and pick up more material. So again, the school isn't locked. I'm going to be here every day. Most teachers are going to be doing their distant learning from here at the school. So the campus is operating. It's just the students are off until we come back. PE supply list you should get. The technology, Julie will have a lot. Ms. Zacharias, Julie Z, will have more information on that coming. Again, no mass or gathering or assembly. I'll do morning assembly virtually by camera into all the classrooms and do my morning assemblies like I did last year to try to keep it cohesive at the school. We're going to be cleaning and sanitizing the school. So we're hiring an extra person. They're not on staff yet, but when the students, we plan to have them come back, we're going to hire an extra custodial person to work with Otilia because cleaning and sanitizing the school is very important. We're going to be doing extra in that area, wiping things down, cleaning them off. And so again, without getting the details, we have a specific plan to clean and sanitize the school, especially the common areas, bathroom doors, which everybody touches and that kind of thing, the kids' desk at the end of the day. So we have a plan for cleaning and sanitizing the school. The digital learning platform, you know a lot about that. Again, this kind of gets into the distant learning. I'm going to wait on that a little bit. The teachers are going to be very specific with you about how to grade, late policies, how we're going to do that. So we have it in the slides here, but I'm going to skip through it for now.
And then Mr. Harris, do you want to mention when parents will be receiving an email from their teacher with the schedule and more details?
Yeah, so we're working on them right now. So again, it's going to be based on what we did last year, but we're with some improvements, including more teacher-student face-to-face time, making the assignments more effective. We're going to hold the kids' feet to the fire a little bit tighter than we did last time. There's going to be grading. There's going to be assessments. Last year was kind of like, well, if you get your paper in before the end of the year, that will be okay. Well, we're still going to have leeway. It's still going to be hard for the kids, but we're going to tighten that up, and the parents will be able to tell you that. So next Tuesday. So today is Tuesday the 18th. So by the 25th. So some parents say, well, why? I need it right now because I have to make plans, and I understand. But remember that a lot of the administration was working all summer, but the teachers just came back on Monday. Was their first day back, and they're working together collaboratively. So we're putting these together, and you're going to get them at the very least. You're going to know what your child's daily routine is going to be like by a week from today, Tuesday, if not sooner, and then come in and pick up the stuff if you have questions for the teachers then. And then we're going to hold a virtual back to school night where, again, your parents and teachers will be able to talk specifically about a lot of these things. Eric, anything else before I stop sharing the screen?
No, not with this. Just in the actual document, we have that signature page at the end. I don't know if you want to show that in the document.
For them to sign of the distant learning plan?
Yes.
All right. I was worried this was going to happen. I don't see my screen, Erica.
Okay.
Are you able to grab it?
No.
So there are going to be a couple of signature pages on our reopen plan and the technology plan. But again, circling back, the most important thing that I want to ask of you is to fill out those surveys that are going to be sent to you promptly. And the more positive responses that we get, the sooner we're going to be able to reopen the school. So right now it's distant learning until we get off the watch list. And once we're off, it's going to be a month after that. But we're applying for a waiver, and we're going to have it ready to send in Monday or Tuesday next week. And then it's going to be 5 days. And then it's going to be 2 weeks to a month after that, after we can reopen. If we get it, it looks like we have a good chance to reopen. So, but your positive input is going to be important. So I'm going to take a minute here for the chat, and let me read through. There were specific questions.
I have been answering most of them as we go, but you can take a look. Mr. Harris, I think the latest one was just if we'll need uniforms for Zoom.
So the answer is no. We didn't do it last year, but the kids do have to be dressed, and they do have to be on camera. Last year, we had some kids that were, not in the middle school more than anything, that were kind of trolling. They gave their friends the sign in. The friends came in with a fake icon. They said a bunch of silly things and stuff. So we need to see the kids' faces. They need to be dressed. They don't have, kids in their pajamas in their bed holding their laptop, with their pillows, because it's school. Distant learning is still school, so they need to be ready. So I think we did a uniform spirit day one day, which was kind of cool to see the kids. I think a lot of them had fun dressing up, but they don't have to wear their uniforms. I think masks, what kind of masks to use? Again, we're going to have masks here for kids that don't have them to wear. It's not optional. Again, I don't mean this to be a in-your-face kind of a thing, and we don't want to get political, but whether the kids wear masks or not is not an option. They must wear a mask. We'll have masks for kids that forget them and so on. But as far as the specific kind, as long as it covers their mouth and their nose, I know I have a certain kind of cloth mask that I'm comfortable with wearing. So rather than mandate that or supply it. I think that I think what you have your kids wearing will be fine. Zoom will still be the main platform for distant learning, but there is Seesaw for the younger grades, and then Google Classroom and so on. There was something on uniforms. And then Mr. Martinez, a great question. On what web page can we see how the county is progressing on the watch list? There is a specific page to that. I don't recall it off the top of my head, but Ms. Rosas and I are in a meeting every week with the county and principals. I have a principal meeting with all of the Catholic principals at 12, but on every Tuesday at 10 o'clock, you'll find me there, and they're going with the county officials about that watch list. So Mr. Martinez, I'm sorry, there is a site, but I'll have to get that.
I sent it on there. I sent the CDC one, which is the one that they're the ones that host the meetings.
They're right in front of me, Erica. You're 10 steps ahead of me as always. So great response.
No.
So thank you for doing that. I have a raised hand, which I assume is another question. So go ahead. You can go ahead and type it in the chat room. Okay, so this has been about an hour long. There's been about 50 of you. We have about 150. So again, I know people are parents, so I know a lot of people are working. So this is recorded. This has been recorded, and it's going to get onto the website for people to see. And then I'm going to be doing these, at least once a week throughout the year to talk about different topics. I covered a lot of material. I know that I went fast. If you want to email me or Erica, English or Spanish, Erica knows all the things that I know. Working together. If you have questions about this, but again, I will take this opportunity to thank you. And I will say that even though we're starting this distant learning, I'm excited. The staff is excited. When you're faced with adversity, you have choices. And our choice is to be positive as we can and fulfill our obligations, provide the best education for your kids that we can. And so we're going to be positive. We're not going to have our heads in the sand, and we're going to keep improving and working on it. Like I said, I think we earned a lot of respect for working hard in the spring, and that work ethic is still there. We're going to keep working on this. So as a school community, we'll get through this. And I think that I'm confident about our waiver. And I think before you know it, we'll be back on campus. All right. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your patience and listening. And I look forward to seeing many of you when you come and pick up the stuff in about a week. So thank you very much.